Hey guys, and welcome to our third panel of the night. We have such a great panel for you. Before we get started with that, just want to thank you guys again so much for all your donations. We have raised over $400 tonight. The donations just keep on rolling in. Just so you know, we are actually doubling our raffle tickets tonight. So if you guys buy $30 worth of raffle tickets that are usually only about 30, then you're going to get 60. So huge. It's an amazing deal. We have some amazing prizes. So make sure to stick to the end of this panel for those. And then we're just about at our $2,500 mark here. Literally just $80 away. So if you can please donate, we would really appreciate it. I'm going to bring on the moderator, Steph.
Hello.
Steph, how are you doing?
I'm great. How are you? I'm really excited about our donations tonight. I also asked you how you were and then kept talking. It's how I roll. Yeah,
it's so amazing. We even have a massage from you up on the raffle list tonight, which is pretty big deal because Steph's really good at giving massages. Let me tell you guys.
I've heard I'm pretty good.
She's kind of a big deal. It's all right, all right. Well, I will let you introduce our panelists for the Batman Forever 25th anniversary special panel.
Yes, I am so excited about this podcast. Our panelists today are from the podcast It's a Shit Show. I know Ray from doing Lady Pod Squad together, so she's super awesome. I'm going to give them time to introduce themselves, plug themselves, and then get on to the good stuff. So whoever wants to introduce.
Well, hello everyone. My name is Ian, and this is Jenny Ray.
Hi.
And Clint.
Hello.
Should we get started?
Yeah, I mean, tell people what our podcast is.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about the podcast.
Well, that's right. I had a whole thing. We're ready. Okay. So welcome to this live show of this episode of It Was a Shit Show with Utah Remote Con. Thank you so much for having us. If you haven't listened to Shit Show before, we are a YouTube/podcast series discussing some of your favorite films and why they were such a nightmare to make. And it could be the years it took to get made, directors that were fired, difficult actors, whatever. Sometimes the end result is just another crappy Hollywood movie like Justice League or Lone Ranger. And sometimes the film becomes a classic like Ghostbusters or Mad Max Fury Road. So we don't
like
discriminate.
Batman Forever. You know? Yeah.
I watched it for the first time yesterday, and good Lord.
Excellent.
I'm so excited to hear what you guys have to say.
You watched it for the first time just yesterday?
I had watched it. I'm like, I think I've seen it before, and then I'm like, no, never seen this.
No, you would remember. You would remember.
Yeah. And with that, today we are going to talk about Batman Forever to celebrate its 25th anniversary.
I know everyone's been wondering, like, when are they going to do a Batman Forever panel? Like, we've been waiting. When are they going to talk about this movie that's 30 years old?
I mean, to be fair, we keep tiptoeing around Batman, so it makes sense.
We made the remote con just for you guys, honestly.
So we could talk about this movie. Yeah, exactly.
That's fine. That's fine.
Go ahead.
First thoughts on Batman Forever.
So now Ian and I have been friends for a long time. And he and I both have a great love and affinity for Batman. And Batman 89 was my first introduction to Batman. And not my first introduction, but like I remember as a kid just so excited for this. And then I remember really distinctly the first trailer I ever remember seeing in the movie theaters for a movie that I was excited about was Batman Returns. And it was Michael Keaton as a rundown Batman, and he's like super depressed, and he's sitting all in Wayne Manor, all in the dark, and then the bat signal pops up in the sky, and then he very inconspicuously has all these other bat signals shining into his living room. I'm like, come on, Bruce. If people don't know you're Batman by now, like he got...
Yeah, because he didn't have any guests.
I know, exactly. Yeah, at that exact same time, he's doing a party. And
Yeah.
he was like, Bruce, what's going on here?
Yeah.
So I remember when Batman Forever was coming out, I was so excited because, I mean, as a kid, 25 years ago, how are you not excited for Jim Carrey, right? So Jim Carrey was cast. I didn't know much about Tommy Lee Jones, right? And I remember even as a kid, I watched this movie and I'm like, this isn't the same thing that I remember. This isn't the same as Batman and Batman Returns. And then I rewatched it this last week and I liked it more than I remembered, but I have so much to say about it, but I'm just going to be real brief. I've been watching Batman 66, the old TV series, and that's campy and it's fun and it's just a great show. I think what Schumacher did, his misstep here, was that he tried to have a dark, gritty, Tim Burton-esque Batman fight Adam Westian villains.
Yeah,
and it does not match.
That's pretty
accurate
way of putting it. Yeah.
Because Tommy Lee Jones and Jim Carrey were chewing the scenery like Batman 66 villains. The reason Jack Nicholson could get away with it is because that's the Joker.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I frequently forget which Batman movie this is, but I remember this time because we watched it recently. I'm like, oh, it's the one with Jim Carrey. That's great. I don't have anything bad to say about this movie. It's just like perfect film. No, I did. I took a lot of notes. While I was watching, and a lot of them are things like note to self, find Edward Nigma's glasses online and purchase. Like those were my notes from watching this movie. So lots of excellent glasses.
Style choices that you were excited about.
Yeah, also his jacket. Like basically anything the Riddler wears, I'm like fully there.
Hell yeah, the dazzle everywhere.
Perfect.
It's keeping me safe while I'm jogging at night.
Yep.
Yeah. That's my favorite line in the movie.
It's excellent.
Real quick, I love this movie as a kid. I also remember seeing the trailer for it and being like, it's more Batman! And it's kind of roller coaster nowadays, my feelings towards it.
It was my first disappointing movie as a child. Like I was 10, and I remember walking out of the theaters and just being like, did we really pay for that?
So, well, with that, we need to discuss the history of Batman to understand how we got to Batman Forever. And so, originally, Tim Burton's 89 Batman was this huge cultural phenomenon. It cost $35 million to make. It makes $411 million worldwide. It becomes the highest grossing film of all time. So that's how big that movie was. It was so huge. So, of course, they were like, well, they clearly got it right. Let's bring in Tim Burton again. And Tim Burton was kind of given full control of the film. And it went through a bunch of writers with a bunch of rewrites. And every one of those writers said Burton was adamant that the movie not have a plot structure. And he was more interested in abstract ideas.
That sounds very Tim Burton-y.
Like,
yeah,
Burton,
right?
You're a filmmaker. You're not Picasso, bro. Like,
yeah, you still got to entertain.
He is, though, Clint. He's an artist.
He's the Picasso of film. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and if you think about it, like they also didn't really care about following the comics in any real way, whether it was storylines or characters. I mean, Catwoman's origin is she's completely different. She's psychotic and evil, and that's not Catwoman in the comics. So you can just tell that they were kind of more interested in like the craziness of it all, and the plot structure is kind of confusing. So they finish the movie. It goes into they submit it to the ratings board, and they had to cut some stuff out of it to keep it from being rated R. And
damn.
And
now I need to find those deleted scenes.
Well, if you think about it, the movie's pretty gross.
No, and listen, they talk like in the first opening scene, there is baby murder. Like
like they literally ditch a child in a frozen river, right?
Pee Wee Herman drops his baby in a river, Moses style.
That's the one with the penguin. Okay, I'm with it now.
Penguin. Yep. So one of those sequences they had to cut was when Penguin's goons are attacking the town square. It was in the movie. It's just kind of like mayhem. They're creating mayhem, but there's actually a scene of them literally lighting citizens on fire.
Oh.
So it's like actual terrorism. And so they made him cut it because it was a little too dark. Okay, so then the movie comes out on June 19th, 1992. Has the biggest opening weekend of all time, 45 million. Has better reviews than the first. So the review critics actually liked it. But word of mouth is not great. Audiences come out of it and they're like, it didn't make much sense. It was disturbingly kinky and gross.
This movie sounds great. I don't know what everyone's problem was. Why were people so uptight in 92? Come on.
Right? And so but I mean, if you think about it, it is like, if you watched that movie, if you told me today that I developed a leather kink because of Batman Returns, I'd be like, that makes sense. I mean, that movie is twisted. It is very strange.
If you're not thirsty for Michelle Pfeiffer in that suit, something's wrong with you.
Yeah. If your heart's not beating. Okay, so the budget is 80 million and it makes only 266 million worldwide. So it cost twice as much as the first Batman and made almost twice as less. So parents are confused. Because they assumed it was a comic book movie. It was supposed to be for kids. And then they made a movie for adults, right? So parents start sending in these letters to newspapers around the country, flipping out over the movie. And this is national news. So this is like before like the internet kind of days where this was just news for like weeks. That people were just so mad about it.
It was when people had to write letters, angry letters to newspapers instead of just like angry tweeting.
Yeah, exactly.
If parents of 1982 only could see what 2020 is all about.
2020 is like
they're like, Batman Returns. Who gives a crap?
Exactly, right? So, but most importantly, the biggest part of this was that McDonald's was promoting the film. So Warner Brothers starts freaking out on their own. But McDonald's starts doing damage control because everybody's so mad at them for all these Happy Meal toys that have the penguin who was gushing out blue-black goo at the end of the movie, right? Like, he's disgusting. And so now they're selling toys.
Too in that movie.
Yeah, right?
Did they make like nugget sauce that looked like that fish goop from the movie that he was eating? I'd be super into that.
Yeah. They called it Szechuan sauce.
So McDonald's starts saying that the tie-ins were meant to get people to go to the restaurants, not to go see the movie. So Jenny Ray, will you read what this McDonald's executive had to say?
Oh, yes. The McDonald's executive had to say, the objective of the Happy Meal program was to allow young people to experience the fun of Batman the character. It was not designed to promote attendance at the movie. It was certainly not our intent to confuse parents or disappoint children. It's a very political quote from McDonald's.
Yeah, and if you look up any of these ads, they sit there and say, like, collect all these items that are straight out of the movie. And it's like, whatever.
The funny thing about that too
is
that
Happy Meal program does not promote violence, okay?
Well, the funny thing about that is that movies before that and movies after have all promoted the movie, like whatever toys they were hawking at that time. Like it was all for those movies. So
yeah. There's even a rumor that McDonald's was trying to get Spielberg to dial Jurassic Park back a little bit so they could sell more toys. But I don't know. Nobody knows if that's actually true.
Capitalism.
So Tim Burton went into a meeting with Warner Brothers to discuss a third one. And because he had some vague ideas of what he wanted to do. And he got this very strong sense from the executives that they didn't want him to direct ever again. Jenny Ray, will you give us your best Tim Burton?
Yeah, sure. Okay. Yeah. I think I upset McDonald's. What's that black stuff coming out of the penguin's mouth? We can't sell Happy Meals with that. I think the studio just thought it was too weird. They wanted to go with something more child or family friendly. In other words, they didn't want me to do another one. How is that?
Yeah.
Ray was on our
Right.
voice acting panel, so just so you know.
Yeah. Well done, Ray. Well done.
Thank you.
So basically, they were like, we're not going to do that ever again, right?
They had seen
So-
Burton's movies before that, though, right? Like, they kind of, like,
I
knew what they
know.
were signed up for.
I know. And he made Edward Scissorhands in between the two. So
Yeah.
They knew what they were getting into.
I know. So when Burton walked from doing another one, there were rumors of like Robin Williams playing the Riddler. And of course, everyone's favorite part of Batman Returns, Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman, being a bigger part. And whether or not that actually was true, who knows? So, but then they hired Joel Schumacher to direct. Now, he came from Lost Boys, Flatliners, Falling Down, pretty weird, kind of strange, out there movies.
Yeah, wait, like they wanted to go family friendly, so they're like, let's hire the guy who made Flatliners. Like, what? A
Yeah.
movie about people like killing themselves?
Yeah.
Flatlining?
Or Falling Down,
Falling Down,
the movie where a guy goes to a McDonald's and doesn't get breakfast, and he flips out and goes on a rampage across the city.
Yeah. If you haven't seen Falling Down, like, go and watch it,
Go watch it.
but maybe don't. Like,
Yeah.
That's
Maybe
why
not these
McDonald's was
times.
into it. That's why they were
Yeah.
into it. They're like, McDonald's is so important, and we need a director who understands that it will cause madness if you don't get your McDonald's breakfast.
yeah. And the Falling Down toys for the Happy Meals did not sell well.
So Schumacher said he wouldn't do it without Tim Burton's permission. Burton gladly handed over the torch. He was just going like, I'm done. Don't worry about it.
That's classy. That's classy.
So Schumacher originally wanted to adapt Batman Year One, but Warner Brothers instantly nixed that. They were like, no, we want something fun. Question?
Can I ask a question? Yeah. Why do you think they don't go with the stories that they have from the comics? Because the comic book stories are so good, and that some of the movies just don't hold up to the stories.
Back then, I mean, you're talking about there was only the Superman movies, which started out great and got terrible, and then there was the Batman movies, which started out great and then went down. Studios are really kind of worried about comic books. They weren't really thinking that they could marry the two, and so, I mean, basically, all the comics are kind of dark, especially the recent ones at that time, and so who knows they.
The 90s
don't
was
know.
a weird time.
I just
Yeah.
think you want
Making
such a good
movies.
story if they put it out there. But
Yeah,
I guess it's too
yeah.
late now.
Yeah. So, in early July 1994, Michael Keaton leaves the film. This is 2 months before production is supposed to start on Batman Forever. Warner Brothers said it was about money. He wanted $15 million plus cut of the profits and merchandising.
Damn.
But Keaton says he wanted to explore Bruce Wayne. He wanted to get more into that character, much like what they eventually did in Batman Begins. But he had one meeting with Joel Schumacher and decided they were clearly still interested in just the villains. So he was like, no, not going to do it. And they cast Val Kilmer just a week later. And this is at the time, this is what Joel Schumacher was thinking. Clint will be our Schumacher tonight.
All right, here we go. I had heard horror stories about Val and was warned not to hire him. But I've heard that about many talented people. Hired them anyway and had no problems whatsoever.
Hold on.
He just likes to roll that dice. Oh,
Yeah.
I heard that guy's a jerk. Let's find out.
Let's find out. So they cast Val Kilmer, who has only ever been like the star in his movies. And then Rene Russo was originally cast as Chase Meridian, the psychologist. But since they recast Batman, Kilmer was considered too young for her. So they fired Russo and hired Nicole Kidman. Come on,
Once
Jenny Ray.
again, I know, like, I get so lady rage about this. We're like, oh, she was too tall for that new actor, so we gotta fire her. It's like, no, give Renee a job. It's fine.
Look, it's like it happens in real life. People are older than people.
Yeah.
People are taller than people.
The voice Nicole Kidman uses in this movie too is so infuriating. It's like, oh, it's so bad.
Everything about her character is so infuriating to me. As a 10-year-old kid, I wasn't seeing the sexism. all the sexist things. But as a 35-year-old man, I'm like, whoa, Chase, like, dial it down.
As someone who considers the role of psychiatrists to be very important, she is so bad at her job. Like,
yeah.
Just immediately, she's just like, ooh, like, I'm going to start hitting on Batman. I got a thing for bad boys. It's like, you need to go see a psychiatrist, lady.
Yeah. Well, she shows up on top of Gotham PD in that, like
90.
Yeah, in a 90.
Yeah.
It's like, ma'am, you are a professional.
Yeah.
Tone it down.
Like, even in her first, like, she's there on, just eye candy, or does she serve a role in this movie? She doesn't serve a role in this movie.
No.
Like,
we will get to, actually, there is a reason some of this was actually cut, and we'll get to that, actually. Okay, so moving on. So the first draft writers, Lee and Janet Batchelor, said Schumacher called them his reality police, because he'd ask for crazy things like, make the Batmobile go up the wall. And then they'd ask, okay, but how does it get down? Schumacher didn't care for the logic.
He sounds like a toddler making a movie. I don't care. Just make it go up.
Well, like I was saying before we started, like, he must have just been binge watching Batman 66, because
that sequence, I think that's a direct reference to that, right? Is because the Batmobile is going up and he looks to the side and he sees all the people. I think that's actually a direct reference to Batman 66.
Well, and even how they probably how they filmed it too is just like, when Batman and Robin are going up the side of the building, they just tilted the camera and they just pretend to walk up a wall when they were walking up straight. So, like, it's just he's just pulling stuff out of Batman 66, and it doesn't work in 1990, 95. Like
95, yeah. So, okay, filming starts in September of 1994. A few weeks in, Kilmer had already become a complete pain in the ass. Now, again, he was an actor that was always the starring role in these things, so he kind of developed.
I was Mad Mardigan.
Yeah, so he just has this ego, right? Schumacher has called him since then childish, impossible, and psychotic.
What did he have to say about Schumacher, though? Because you got to get both sides of the story.
I don't know. There was a huge story that Entertainment Weekly did where they dived into all the horror stories of Val Kilmer, especially after this movie, because he is kind of a jerk. He put a cigarette out in someone's eye and crazy stuff like that. He's
not as
nuts.
part of a scene?
So
no,
like
it was
felon,
he
so
just
like
did
a
it
felon, like a criminal.
Interesting.
So things boil to a point that Schumacher and Kilmer get into a shoving match. Clint Schumacher.
He was being I don't know if I can do it again. I will try. He was being irrational and ballistic with the first AD, the cameraman, the costume people. He was badly behaved. He was rude and inappropriate. I was forced to tell him that this would not be tolerated for one more second. Then we had 2 weeks where he did not speak to me, but it was bliss.
You know what? I am Team Schumacher on this, because those people are just trying to do their damn job. And, like, they don't need to put up with Val Kilmer's childish nonsense, okay?
Right.
Those are like workaday folks. Yeah, they don't need his shenanigans.
So Schumacher also has lots of problems with Tommy Lee Jones. First off, apparently Jones hated the 3-hour makeup process, so it made a grumpy man even more grumpy.
Tommy, I understand. As a person with obviously a 3-hour makeup process, I'm with you, brother.
Me too. Yeah. This is a fake beard. I just put this on tonight for the show.
Spirit gun.
Yeah.
Impressive. As we mentioned in our Actor Feuds episode, go check that out. Tommy Lee Jones really hated Jim Carrey. Jones told him, "I hate you. I really don't like you. I cannot sanction your buffoonery." We go in more to that story on our episode, so you should check it out.
Jim Carrey's buffoonery is the only thing that keeps this movie going. It is the only thing that keeps this movie going. Oh,
pretty much.
He's the best part of it.
He was the perfect casting for this role.
Yeah, so good.
So Schumacher
I think I might be the only person who disagrees. I might be the only person who disagrees with that.
Get out. Get out of this live show.
Don't get me wrong. I love Jim Carrey. I think he's great at what he does. But this was
replacing you now. Sorry, Clint.
Well, this was just Jim Carrey being Jim Carrey, not necessarily the Riddler.
Yeah.
It was if you watch Batman 66 and watch Frank Gorshin's performance of the Riddler, he just took that and like just threw his Jim Carrey-ness on it, and it wasn't unique. It wasn't something that I hadn't seen before for the Riddler.
But it was the 90s though, Clint.
Yeah.
I know. And as I told you, as a kid, I was probably like, oh yeah, Jim Carrey and the Riddler. Like the Riddler has always been one of my favorite Batman's rogues, you know, and then as I watched it again, I'm just like, did Ace Ventura just like freak out and decide to write some puzzles? Like that's really what it felt like to me.
You know what? I'd be fine if all of Jim Carrey movies were one connected universe. Like I'm here for it. I'm still here for it.
There's probably
That's
some
great.
conspiracy theorist out there, right? That's just like, yeah, they're all connected. You know, it's the Charlie Day whiteboard, and you just got everything.
Hold on, I got to go to Reddit real quick.
The GCU.
My husband was telling me he loved Jim Carrey so much he didn't think he was a bad guy when he was a kid and watched this. He just thought he was a funny additive.
That's
funny.
right. So Schumacher
throwing people out windows is just classic comedy gold. Blowing up Batmobiles,
Surf's
comedy
up,
gold.
big kahuna.
Guy.
Yeah. Oh.
Okay, so Schumacher would later call Tommy Lee Jones an asshole because of how mean he was to Carrey on set. Because Jones clearly couldn't stand Carrey upstaging him.
Yeah.
And this is something else that Schumacher said. Go ahead, Clint.
Jim Carrey was a gentleman, and Tommy Lee was threatened by him. I'm tired. I'm tired. I'm tired of defending overpaid, overprivileged actors. I pray I don't work with them again.
So if you can clearly tell, Schumacher gives great interviews. He just lets it just all out.
And he doesn't open his eyes very much.
He does sound a little sleepy based on your impression of him. It sounds like he's like half asleep in most interviews.
The one interview I watched to get this voice and like, you know, his facial features, like he's just like this. I apologize for Batman and Robin. Like, that's what he was doing. So that's what I pulled from.
Okay.
I can understand why Tommy Lee was threatened by Jim Carrey because he was trying to do a Jim Carrey, and he's normally a very serious actor. We talk about this in actor feuds, but like I could see him like, you know what, I'm gonna go out on a limb, I'm gonna do something zany, I'm gonna be kind of manic, and then like Jim Carrey shows up and is like, hold my Riddler hat, and he's just like, damn it. And you can't out Jim Carrey. You can't do it. It's not possible.
Exactly.
And the upstagingness even kind of shows in the film too. Like if you just look at the story and how it's written, like Two-Face is the big kahuna at top, and then Jim Carrey comes in and he starts like the shift in power.
Yep.
Overtakes him. Yeah.
Overtakes him. So it's, I mean, you read the script, right, Tommy Lee? Like, you know, that's what happens. Like just.
Yep.
As Jenny Ray said, she was like, "Oh, this makes me really sad that they hated each other. They look like they're having so much fun."
They did look like they were having a lot of fun when they were just like in that the most conspicuous villain lair of all time in like the middle of the ocean, just like just palling around.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Barrymore.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
Drew
yeah.
Barrymore, a little side action. So once the movie hits the editing room, a lot gets tossed. There's an opening sequence originally showed that Two-Face escaped Arkham, and he hung a guard and used his blood to write "The Bat Must Die" on the wall, and that was the original opening of the movie. There's lots of character moments that get cut with the good guys. There's a scene that explains why Batman never stops Two-Face and Riddler during their like money montage, because
Their heist montage.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, what was Batman doing during all of this? There's actually a sequence that explains that.
He was going to a lot of therapy during all of that. With Jason Meridian. He was like trying to discover all his repressed memories. Like he was on a journey. Okay, leave Batman alone. Jeez.
Okay, so on that note, the biggest change is that Thomas Wayne's last entry in his diary. You remember in the movie, he gets the diary and he says something about how it's the last time he'll ever write in it, and that's what he says about it. Actually, in the original script and how they filmed it, the diary is his last entry is that Bruce convinced them to go to the movies the night they got killed. And so Bruce had repressed this memory, which explains the line, "I killed him." Remember when he's having that memory flashback, and Alfred says it back to him. He's like, "You didn't say he killed him. You said I killed them." So that line doesn't make any sense in that movie. But if you have this deleted scene, it makes way more sense.
It does make, yeah. But obviously, like, Joel wasn't overly concerned with like the psychological nuance of like Batman and Bruce Wayne as a character.
Yeah.
Or continuity in general.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
I will say this though, Michael Goff is probably one of my favorite Alfreds.
Of course. He's like everybody's Alfred, right?
He's the only Alfred.
Yeah. Like, because comic books, they like to give characters a little bit more intrigue than is necessary. So like iterations of different versions of Alfred after that. He's been like a spy for MI6. He's been like a mercenary. He was a soldier in the war. That's all great, but like him is just like this kindly old man who's taking care of an orphan. Like I love that Alfred. That's my Alfred. Hashtag my Alfred.
I agree. So,
by the way, Dick Grayson gets real comfortable bossing Alfred around almost immediately. Yes. I was like, whoa. You just showed up in this house. Like, calm down.
Instantly adapts to the wealth.
Yeah, exactly.
So, everyone in the comments now is just saying hashtag my Alfred, and I love it.
Yes.
I love it.
He is the only Alfred, for sure.
Yep.
So if you're all going back to that repressed thing, that also explains a lot of the conversations he's having with Chase, right? Is that he was repressed this moment in his life. And there's an extra scene with her that's also deleted that kind of helps him explore that. But so the other big thing was when Bruce gets shot, when the Two-Face and Riddler invade the mansion, and it grazes his head, he loses his memory of being Batman. And this in the original version. He wakes up, and he remembers he's Bruce and that Alfred. He knows all this stuff, but he forgot that he was Batman. And so Alfred takes him into the Bat Cave and says, "Good thing they didn't know about the cave under the cave." Oh, and this is where he has his sonar suit and the boat and the plane. So it does make sense that like why didn't Riddler blow those up too, right?
Right.
And so that's because there's a cave underneath the cave. So he takes
cave.
Yeah. So he takes
caves
Bruce. He takes Bruce down into that cave, and he's like, "What is all this? I was a superhero. I don't know." Anyway, this is all online. You can watch these. So down in this cave, he finds his dad's diary, and his last entry actually says that they talked Bruce into going to the movies the next weekend. So it actually isn't his fault. And at that point, he confronts a giant bat. You remember all
can't read.
So I've seen this bat deleted scene. It's very like.
Yeah. Okay. So you know all those images of the big giant bat that keeps flying in the darkness. So he confronts it, and it's like it's the size of Man Bat. It's just this giant thing, and then he's like, "I'm also a bat," and he like mimics the bat, and then he becomes true Batman.
It's like kind of a beautiful moment, actually. It's very poetic. Like their souls merge. It's great.
It's like beautiful. Luke in the cave on Dagobah, but dumb.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So when Schumacher died earlier this year, the rumors of this darker, more serious Schumacher cut started, and which are just these scenes I just described. And I don't think people know what rough cuts are, or what they forget that deleted scenes actually exist, because you can watch all this crap online, and no matter what you did to that movie, like if you added all those scenes, it actually would made it worse in a way, because it would have been a very fractured, very serious Val Kilmer I'm Batman movie with all the shenanigans. Like you can't have a darker, more serious cut when you have Jim Carrey saying joygasm and laundry karate, and like there's no way that movie would ever become like more serious.
Oh my god. I need to talk about laundry karate for at least 45 more minutes. That scene is bonkers town. Like what was even happening?
Yeah, but that's what I was saying in the beginning, right? You can't have a dark, gritty Batman fighting jovial villains. It didn't mesh well.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Now, if you were to like recut it or reshoot it, keep all the zaniness from Jim Carrey and Tim Burton, and then get someone zany to play Batman and Robin, like, got a gold mine. Like,
Hey, they got a.
What about Jim Carrey playing every role?
Yeah, I'd watch that.
Whoa,
I would 100% watch that.
you just blew my mind. Does this movie exist? I need to see it.
I hope
Release,
so.
yeah, hashtag release the Carrey cut.
Yes.
Forget the Snyder cut. Forget the Schumacher
The
cut.
Carrey cut.
We need the Carrey cut.
Robin does get a little zany at the end where he's like, "Holy iron metal, Batman," or whatever that stupid line is.
Metal. Yeah, it's the little
Holy rusted metal.
That little homage,
Yeah.
I say little homage that, to
66.
Batman 66. Yeah.
Yep.
Now, as I rewatched this whole show, like there were parts about it that I was like, okay, this is fine. This is a comic book movie. Like Robin's origin, I thought was fine. Even the Riddler's like ascent to greatness, with his whole plot, I thought was fine. That's a comic book. Like that is, that's, I don't know if it's actually inspired by one of the books, but that's a comic book story. So that I was rewatching, I thought this is fine. This is fine. This is good. Chris O'Donnell,
But that earring though. Just
yeah.
You know what? It's kind of hot. I'll admit it.
I'll give you this. I actually think I like the Robin bat suit or his suit. I think it actually looks really cool.
I do too.
The
Like
OG
that-
or the one at the end?
The one at the end, not the
OG. That's
height.
nonsense.
Yeah. His acrobat suit.
Yeah. Alfred is real good at making suits. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
And
I saw that
logos.
was-
Where did he go
Oh,
to
yeah.
Taylor School?
And graphic design school.
Yeah.
He's and branding school. Like he's fully created the image of Batman, basically.
Yeah, it's
Marketing
it's all-
school.
He handles
Hashtag
his
my
Instagram. Okay, so Batman Forever released on June 16th, 1995, 25 years ago. It breaks the record for biggest opening weekend ever of 50. So it had 52 million on opening weekend. The budget
Wait, like at that point? Like biggest
that
opening?
point.
Okay.
Mhm. And
That's 52 million disappointed children
well,
or
it had a
adults.
budget. It had a budget of 100 million, so it was much more expensive, but it makes 336 million worldwide. So it actually kind of went up much higher than Batman Returns. So, but has like a 39% on Rotten Tomatoes.
That's fair.
I don't know. I'm willing to up that. I will up that for Jim Carrey alone to at least a 45.
Ray, I cannot trust your assessments. I cannot.
Am I because I'm sort of married to a Jim Carrey type? Is that why?
Yes.
This guy up here.
Smoking.
No, so Steph, I texted these guys. We have our own text thread, and I was watching this movie, and Jim Carrey does some like the scene where he's at his party and Two-Face busts the party, starts robbing everybody, and Jim Carrey goes and he starts talking to Two-Face like, we could have planned something organized. It's like that is 100% Ian. When we
sold the movie rights.
and the whole thing where he does this and like puts his hand on his ears, like that is Ian. Like that's what when we did improv comedy together, that's 100% of what he used to do. And it blew my mind.
They have similar physical comedy
Carrey
styles.
was very influential on me.
Did anyone else feel like Two-Face and the Riddler had like sexual chemistry? They were like on top of each other.
I think that what's funny about Batman Returns is that people are like, it's too kinky. I mean, there's literally like, what does Penguin say? Like, just the pussy I was looking for or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
And it's all dirty and people are like, ew, it's weird and kinky. This movie is just as sexual all around because Two-Face and Riddler are like into each other and Riddler's into Bruce Wayne.
I did not realize this until after this movie, but like Ed Nigma has a huge man crush on Bruce Wayne, and there's that scene where he's at the party and he like asks Drew Barrymore, he's like, how's my mole? And I was like, that's a weird question, why did he ask that? And it's because Val Kilmer has a mole in that exact same spot, so he like painted a mole on his face to like look like Bruce Wayne, and his hair looks like him.
His haircut the exact same suit. Drew Barrymore's character even says the same thing. He's like, how come you don't look that good in the suit? Shut up, you're here to work.
Yeah. No, he's like fully like man crush obsessed with Bruce Wayne. It's really interesting.
It's a very homoerotic movie, man.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's why I'm here for it.
Yeah.
You know what? Take it up 45 up to 55. I'm here for the homoeroticism.
Yep.
So to kind of wrap the story up of Val Kilmer on this whole thing, he was obviously replaced in the sequel, and this is what Schumacher said about that.
He sort of quit. We sort of fired him. But it probably depends on who was telling the story.
Yeah, that would depend on who was telling the story. You probably said he got fired. You probably said he quit.
Well, I mean, think about it. Like, history is written by the victors, right? And so, who's really the victor in this movie? Is it Schumacher or is it Kilmer?
It's the fans. It's the Batman fans.
No. I think we're definitely the losers in this movie. Watching this movie. Now listen. I still don't like this movie. I liked it more watching it this second time than I did 25 years ago as a 10-year-old. So I don't know what that says.
Expectations are lower.
Because I already know going into it that I didn't like it.
No, the movie has aged like a fine wine, and your palate is more refined, Clint.
God, I don't like wine. Give me a good rum and Coke.
Rum. It's aged like a fine rum, and now your taste buds are more sophisticated.
Okay, good.
You just need to get more drunk.
It's probably true.
That's what would make it better.
Yeah.
How are we doing on time?
We have about 4 more minutes.
Okay. We can do one more. We can do a little couple of other facts. So the origins of the nippled bat suit. Go ahead, Clint.
Okay. This is Schumacher. Bob Kane doesn't understand why Chris O'Donnell, Robin, had an earring and Batman has nipples. I told him, it's the 90s, Bob. Pumped up. I wanted a very sexy, very sensual, very body-hugging suit. It's my Gotham City, and if I want Batman to have nipples, he's going to have nipples.
Yeah, I don't agree with. I can't disagree with that statement. That's like 100% accurate. Perfection.
And so, that controversy is just, it lives on. And someone asked him about that, Clint.
I think that will be on my gravestone. It's how I'll be remembered.
I hope it is. You know what? R.I.P. Joel Schumacher. He sounds like a hoot and a half. I hope it's on his gravestone.
Just his gravestone, just 2 nipples.
Just 2 bat nipples.
No, absolutely.
Nothing else, like no name or like
you don't need it. You don't need it.
It's just a chest with the bat symbol and 2 nipples. That's the whole headstone. That's it. And then people are gonna go and see it as like, oh, Joel Schumacher's there. And they're like, how do you know? It doesn't have his name. It's like bat nipples.
With the 1 minute that we have left, I have to point out something else that I discovered after watching this. So my favorite Batman movie as a child was Batman and Robin, Don't Judge Me.
Hell yeah.
I love that movie. So I realized after watching this that they're very similar in the sense that like there's an established villain, there's Two-Face and then Mr. Freeze. And then you have like a nerdy redheaded scientist type who's like obsessed with Bruce Wayne or obsessed with whatever, who like something happens to them and then they become unhinged and then like rise to power and then eventually overtake that established villain as like the main villain of the movie with like Poison Ivy and the Riddler.
Oh, you just blew my mind, right? I didn't even think about that.
It was pretty random.
This is why I'm really good at comic book stuff, Clint.
Well, and Batman and Robin is another example of Schumacher just trying to mimic Batman 66 because
even to a worse degree.
Yeah, because like
I would say
I thought about this as I was rewatching Batman Forever. Like Batman flies into the scene of the crime of the first one, and he just looks at that and looks at Commissioner Gordon, who does nothing. The Gotham Police Department sucks. They do jack shit.
Just waiting for Batman to do everything for him.
But he just looks at Commissioner and goes, Two-Face. Like that's what Batman 66 does all the time. There's no origin stories for any of the Batman villains. Like you could watch the first episode and like the Joker's at it again, like, but it's the first episode. So that's the great thing about Batman 66, but not the great thing about Batman and Robin or Batman Forever.
Once again, I don't know what your problem is with these movies. I think they're excellent.
I'm a bat snob. I'll admit it. I'm a bat snob.
Hashtag bat snob. Everybody hashtag that at Clint. At BubRub, hashtag bat snob.
Hashtag bat snob. I'll take it.
We have someone totally judging me right now. So sorry.
Wait, judging me? Judging Clint.
Probably.
Yeah, who?
Probably me.
Clarify yourself, Jacothy.
Oh my gosh. Thank you guys so much for being involved with Utah Remote Con. we just raised $150 just in your guys' panel alone. That is absolutely huge.
Awesome. Thank you so much, everybody.
Yeah, you guys are
thank
awesome.
We also just passed our $2,500 mark. So we're halfway there to 5,000, guys.
Hell
Woohoo!
yeah.
That's
Awesome.
huge for a first time little convention like us. So we are so grateful to everyone and their support. But let's dive into some raffle prizes, shall we?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
All right. So first up here, we have this lovely beanie from our friends over at Quarters Arcade Bar. They have an amazing selection of arcade games. So make sure to go check them out. Word on the street is their drinks are fantastic as well.
Killer Queen.
So please check that out. Yes. And then we have a $10 gift card to Mountain Donuts. So if I can get a drum roll, please, we will announce the winner for this one, which is Michael Wazowski.
Mike Wazowski.
Damn close.
And then for our second prize here, we have this amazing Funko Pop.
Ooh.
It is pretty rad.
But are there nipples on the suit? Is my
I don't
question.
think so, unfortunately.
Oh,
You can add them later. Whoever
Is
wins
that Bat Comrade? Is that Russian Batman?
It
Looks
is.
like
the comrade himself.
Red Sun.
Oh.
Yeah, Red Sun.
Oh yeah.
We also have a gift card for a 60-minute massage from Zen Beam Massage, which I do believe is the Steph here, and she is amazing at massages. So please go and check her social media out as well. And the winner for this one is Lindsay Goodwin.
Lindsay!
Lindsay Cupcake Girls.
Yeah.
So thank you guys all for your donations so much. We really appreciate it. We have some great panels for you tomorrow. We have what was the starting panel? Now I can't remember.
TTRPGs with the of Dyson Danes ladies.
Thank you. And that is starting at what time, Steph?
9 a.m.
Woo woo.
Get your coffee,
Yeah.
get your donuts.
Yes. And then I believe it is at 10 a.m. We also have the Watchmen panel.
Might be Battle of the Nerds. 10 a.m. It's Battle of the Nerds, I believe.
Throwing up the schedule tonight, guys. It's something. It's going to be amazing. Check out our Facebook page.
Yeah.
RemoteCon. All the fun stuff is going to be there. We do have Battle of the Geeks, and of course our closing panel at noon. So thank you guys so much. We really appreciate you guys being on this panel. Make sure to go check them out. Ian, where can they find you?
Go to It Was a Shit Show. You can see my hashtag right there. That is our official Twitter. You can search that for our YouTube channel. Check those out because we do full video episodes that are more bigger breakdowns. And
If you're really into film history.
yeah,
They are.
this is definitely
amazing.
film history.
They are like, I just come for the jokes, like, but Ray and Ian, they do all the magic with the YouTube videos, and it blows my mind every time. They're in depth. They do their research. They're very thorough. They're very funny. So yeah, go check out the YouTube shows. All those different episodes. They're fantastic. I'm not just saying that because I want people to come and check out all of our stuff.
Right? This is just for you.
Oh, yes. Yes. Stolen Droids. I'm with you. Solidarity, Batman and Robin. Classic.
And of course, Ian has the absolute best impression of Jim Carrey. So
It's so
hands
good.
down, that was fantastic.
You like my
Mike-
jacket? It keeps me safe while I'm jogging at night.
Best line. Best jacket.
Oh my gosh.
And
Ray,
my
where can
Schumacher
people
was,
find you at?
Sorry, what was that?
Where do they find you?
Where
you
can
can
people find you at, Ray?
Yeah, you can find me at the Ray J on Twitter, or talking with these guys on It Was a Shit Show, which you can pretty much find on every podcast platform. So there you go.
Yes.
Perfect. And
Thank you
Clint?
guys so much. This was such a fun panel. Thanks for
It's
letting
been
me
a lot of
comment.
fun. Yeah, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at
sorry.
bub_up. Oh, you're fine, Steph. Come on.
Sorry.
I also do another podcast with my best friend Adam called Getting Lost, and it's all about the TV show Lost. ABC's Lost. So it's you can find us on iTunes, Instagram, and Twitter. But yeah, the iTunes, the podcast is called Getting Lost.
That's a really straightforward show. Do you need like a whole podcast about it?
You think we'd run
like
out of things to
4
say?
seasons of a podcast.
You think we'd run out of things to say, but somehow we just come back and we're like, oh yeah. We had to go back to the island, so we've been able to do it for 5 years. So Getting Lost is my other podcast.
Oh yeah, and one more plug is we're actually going to continue this conversation, the three of us, on our own thing, because I have a bunch more facts about Batman and Batman Forever. So check it out when it comes as a podcast.
We'll release it as an episode, and you can listen to more talk about bat nipples.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Can't wait
to hear about bat nipples. All right. Well, thank you guys so much. We will see you guys later.
Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.